Hi, I'm Drew Hutchison, and you're tuned to Local Bias. We come to you from the studios of Greenfield Community Television at 393 Main Street in beautiful downtown Greenfield. And today I'm with a beautiful woman, Empress.
Hello, Drew.
Thank you for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
So I saw you at the Chamber Breakfast, and you got up there. It was the February breakfast.
Yes.
And my jaw dropped. Because you've done so much and you're doing so much, and we have actually only half an hour. But can you just start letting, what's going on? Who are you? I mean, oh my God.
Well, if we could fit that all in half an hour, no, sir. But my name is Empress. I work at Greenfield Savings Bank. Like I was telling you earlier, I'm the CRA analyst, which is the Community Reinvestment Act analyst, and I'm also the community outreach officer. So I do a lot of things in the community as far as like backpack giveaways for like lower income families and things like that between Franklin and Hampshire County. I also did a drive for like the Days In for the family at the Days In when they first recently arrived. So we did a lot of donations for that. We've done a lot of partnerships with like the Greenfield Police Department, going to like the tent community, because I went to the police department a few years ago and I said I wanted to go down to the tent community and see some of the needs that they have.
Right. So
they took me on a tour down there. So I worked with the police department and the employees at the bank, and we took together a drive. And also Jessie Dean from the Chamber of Commerce came as well with her award-winning brownies, and we went down there and started distributing items to the tent community, as well as Big Y and Wells Street Shelter and other places where where those individuals are. On top of that, as my full-time job, I'm also chair of the Greenfield Human Rights Commission. I'm also president-elect of the Franklin County Rotary Club, which I will be president come June. I'm next up for president, so I'm really excited about that. Also board member of Nelquit and Mass Hire. And I'm also CEO of Moving Mountains and Juneteenth facilitator, amongst being a mom and a fiance.
It's just, and the thing is, so we're not going to talk about all of that because we don't have time to talk about all of that. But we do have something that we can talk about that's really, to me, it's such good news, and that's, you're going to be having your own program.
Oh my goodness, I'm very excited about that, yes. So it's going to be called Moving Mountains Media, and it will be premiered here on GCTV. And I'm really excited about that because it's something that has been in the works or development, no life, probably for like the past couple years. But we wasn't really able to find a niche to kick it off, and I'm really happy about the new energy that's here at GCTV that will support me to put me where I want to be. So this television program I'm really excited about. It's going to feature like a lot of culture events, culture artists. I'll be out in the community, basically just like to get to know more about Empress and what I do, and meet people in the community, and just do a lot of groundbreaking work. And that's what I'm going to use it as well as bringing in an artist. Like I said, there's so much entertainment and artists here within Franklin County. And as far as giving them a platform, like take for instance, you have Style FX, the hip hop group, hip hop crew.
Okay.
Exactly. So
what do I know?
Right, and they've been one of my top performers at Juneteenth for this my third year, and they go all over and perform. And so they could come to the studio and perform. The YMCA, they have gymnasts and also dancers as there. So that would be another way of bringing them, give them another platform. So I'm going to use this as a means of doing the same work that I do every other day, but putting it where other people can see it.
That's awesome. And speaking of Juneteenth, that's coming up relatively soon. And this you've been pushing Juneteenth. And your first year, you had a few sponsors and a few vendors.
Yes.
And now, what is it?
It has blown up.
Right.
Okay. So like my first year, I did it in 2022. And let me tell you, Drew, the reason why I did Juneteenth is I just recently joined the Human Rights Commission. Okay, I was a brand new commissioner. I was going to Greenfield Community College, just trying to get my feet wet a little bit. And during that time when I joined, that's when it was a really tough time going on in Greenfield, if you remember during that time. I know a lot of your viewers will know what I'm talking about. Right. Okay, so it's like the community was really torn apart. And the subject of Juneteenth came up. But what happened is like the commissioners wanted to do something, and the chair at that time wanted to do something, but they didn't really know which direction to go into because of how everything was boiling over. So I kind of like, as I do in everyday life, I just kind of like took charge. I said, well, you know something, outside of the commission, I said, I'm going to do it myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's history in the making.
That's history in the making. Look where we are now.
I used to teach at Greenfield High School, and one of the things I would tell my students is that history is the story of people who were told, well, you can't do that, and they went ahead and did it anyway and changed the world.
Yeah.
And you're changing the world. You're moving mountains.
Definitely. I try.
And one of the things that you really push is black-owned businesses.
Yes.
So you're in Franklin County. We're so lily white here. How many black-owned business opportunities are there?
Well, I do know some black-owned business owners within Franklin County. We are the minority. We are really the minority. If you do look at census tracts, because I study census tracts a lot with my job, you will basically see that we are actually under S, which, if you don't know what that means suppressed. So there's not even enough of us to even be counted.
Oh my God.
As far as black-owned business. So my thing is basically to support black-owned business and give a voice to black-owned business, and just be that the light in the darkness, so to speak.
Well, and part of your job at Greenfield Savings Bank is to take a look and see, is there redlining going on?
Correct.
And so what is the history of redlining?
Well, redlining is something that would keep a lot of people like me out of certain neighborhoods, and it had a lot to do with discrimination and prejudice. And I feel that my job at Greenfield Savings Bank is very important because I could trace all the data to make sure that that's not going on. And there really hasn't been any evidence really of redlining, but what there is a lot of evidence out there amongst a lot of financial institutions is as far as struggling to place LMI, which is low to moderate income individuals, into permanent housing, as far as out of, say, Leiden Woods or Greenfield Gardens or something, and put them into home ownership. There's a lot of struggle there because the economy is basically against us right now, and it is very hard, and I do understand there's a lot of grant programs and certain things like that, but when you have people who are struggling just to put food on the table, and then you want to put them into a house where they have property taxes and water bills and everything else they didn't have to do, it's like you're almost setting them up to fail. So I think that's more something of a voice as far as lobbying the higher government. That something needs to be done because.
But you run into NIMBYism because really it's a housing crisis. There's not enough housing.
Correct.
And a lot of the housing that is being bought up, you have people from outside that will pay cash more than is even being asked for.
That's correct.
And that creates gentrification, and it pushes people out of even being able to live in their own home.
That is correct.
So how do we solve that issue? Can it be solved?
I mean, like I said, I think that's a higher up problem. Because just like you said, I definitely do see a lot more of investment as far as in commercial and agriculture. And it's just like regular everyday people like me. And you? Well, you're not.
Hey, I'm not regular.
Regular everyday people like me really can't.
They do like you.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to use the platform, because I believe a lot in faith, and that's what Moving Mountains is about, as far as faith and because
you see there's something that should be done.
Yeah, I definitely do, and I believe in planting seeds. So if I have my eye on something and I'm like, this is something that needs to change, then I want to use my platform to help to change it.
And the thing is through this process of you personally making a difference, when you started, you were just going on faith basically, and you've been rewarded. Time and again, it's like you put the energy out there, it gets answered.
Yes, it does. And I've really run into more positivity than negativity. Being in Greenfield, Franklin County, woman business owner, black business owner with dreadlocks, I look different. So I know, like when I first said Juneteenth, people's like, they were really standoffish because they was more nervous for me than anything. And they said that, because it was like, Empress, we just don't know how this is going to turn out because it could go either way. So I still went out there and I still did my thing. And Monty Belmonte, Monty from NEPM, he had me on his radio program before he went to NEPM. The Greenfield Recorder was great. And I just had a lot of support. It was small. I had a lot of support as far as putting it out there. I did a lot of promotion myself, the footwork and stuff. But it was at Energy Park, and I was really shocked at the turnout at Energy Park. And then last year was Beacon-Field because, it got bigger.
Yep. And this year's at Beacon-Field again.
Yes, and it's bigger. So now, the city is also, can I talk about that
yes,
as well?
Please do.
I'm really excited about that. Okay. So this year, because it's the third year, this is going to be a tribute to Frederick Douglass, because Frederick Douglass actually visited Greenfield 158 years ago and gave a speech at Washington Hall.
Which is, where would that be? Where's Washington Hall, do you know?
Washington Hall is somewhere downtown. I believe it's a new name.
Okay.
I would have to talk to Carol to get exactly the new name.
It'd be interesting to find out where the actual space was.
But that space is actually going to be part of the tour walk, the mural walk.
Okay.
Yes. So it's going to be a lot of education that day. So the city of Greenfield, through Caitlin and Christian, actually received a grant as far as funding for creating a mural for the abolitionists and Underground Railroad in Greenfield.
Right, and so the Underground Railroad actually came through Greenfield. There were families involved in helping transport fugitive slaves.
We don't know to what extent, but it definitely was a lot of abolitionist movement here in Greenfield.
Right.
Which when I heard about this, because I'm also on that committee as well, so when I kind of heard about that, I'm like, what? So they asked me to join, so of course I did join that committee as well. And it's been very educational for me. So what happened is they wanted to get this mural done in time for Juneteenth, but they didn't know exactly how it will look like. And then I came up with the brilliant idea. So let's put the mural as part of Juneteenth and making it a tour. So what's going to happen is from 9 to 11 on June 19th, it's going to be a tour of all the downtown murals, and the artists are going to be outside, and the Greenfield Historical Society is going to be outside, and one of the teachers from Greenfield High School is going to be out there doing a tour and giving a lot of the educational background as far as, who lived here, and what they had to do with the abolitionist movement and what they had to do with the Underground Railroad. So that's going to be really cool.
And what about Juneteenth? For people who don't know what Juneteenth is.
Well, Juneteenth is actually a celebration of the official ending of slavery in America. That's the simplest way to put it.
Okay.
Because you have to remember July 4th, 1776, the 4th of July in America, my people were still enslaved.
Right, and Frederick Douglass spoke to that.
Yes, exactly. And now that you said that, the Lava Center is actually doing a reading that day, a community reading, what is the 4th of July to a slave. So July 4th, 1776, which is, Liberty Day, Freedom Day for America, my ancestors was still in chains and slavery, so we wasn't free.
And even though the Civil War had ended, they didn't necessarily know.
Right, correct. They didn't know, because don't forget, that wasn't something that was really
We didn't
put
have
out
instant
there.
media back then.
Exactly. We didn't have Facebook and Twitter and all that. So a lot of people still was enslaved and in chains during that time because, and there was a conditioning thing too. You're grown into slavery. This is all you know. From when you're a baby, this is all you know. You learn to be dependent on your slave master. If you need something to eat, you get it from your slave master. If you need clothing on your back, you get it from your slave master. So over time, this all became part of conditioning. So over time, what happened, these individuals, and people say, oh, you're free, you're free, you're free. Like,
but what does that
what
mean?
does that even mean?
Right.
What does that mean, to be free?
And
as a matter of fact, it would create more fear.
Right.
It would, because where am I going to go?
What roof am I going to have over
Exactly. How am I going to survive? Who's going to feed me? What am I going to do? So, yeah. So Now now Juneteenth, like I said, is June 19th, 1865, which was 120 something years later, was actually when they actually went into Texas, and that was the war was fought, and that was the end of it.
Right.
So I believe after that time, then when they started having like indentured servants, and then that whole thing started.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the tenement farmers who basically owed more to work the land than they could possibly ever earn.
Exactly.
And redlining. Even the GI Bill excluded black people.
Yeah. They always kind of found a way to find a loophole to make it look pretty as a means to exclude black people. And and that's why, and I see like sometimes I see two sides of the story here. You see some people who's like all for it, like, yes, it's about time this is happening, equality, and we're doing this, and it's a good move in the right direction. And then you have the other side of the argument who's like, oh, but nobody's different, we need to treat everybody equally, and all this and all this. But as far as history has taught us, it hasn't always been equal.
Right. So we're really more interested in equity in a way, so that everyone has the same advantage. Because the fact is that there is such a thing as white male privilege. I have to own it. Okay. And the thing is when you have privilege, you don't necessarily recognize that someone else doesn't have the same privilege.
Right.
But the fact is, women don't have the same. I mean, when did women get the right to even have their own credit card? It was like in the 1970s. Are you kidding me? We have not grown that much that we can just say, oh, everything's okay now. Treat everybody equally. No.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, it's like what you see a lot of white women more passionate. You see a lot of white women passionate about the movement because, just like you said, it
wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
And actually, in some parts of the country, they're moving back.
Exactly. So women really understand the struggle.
Right.
So it wasn't always, equal, women was discriminated against, period. Right. Black women, period. So, it's kind of like we was always those groups that were always together.
Well, and the thing is that also the war on drugs was a war on the black population.
We know that. We know that because we didn't have planes to move them in here.
Right.
We didn't have the money to bring it in here.
Right.
We didn't have the power to do that. But what happened? It ended up in black communities where you would see black people and black men and dying and women giving birth to drug-addicted babies, and then generation after generation after generation. And it's just, but we didn't do it. We did fall victim to it.
Right. Well, and there's still a lot of post-traumatic stress from it.
Exactly.
I mean, to talk about culture, slavery took away an amazing culture. The slaves came from Africa, which we were talking earlier, such a diverse continent. There's so many different cultures. And to lose all of that and then to be, over a couple hundred years, to be oppressed, you don't just get over that. No. It's not like, oh, hey, you're free, you're okay now. Sorry about my dad, sorry that we enslaved you.
Right.
There are repercussions, and they have to be dealt with. And we're still, as a country, we have not properly dealt with it.
Right, because I could sit here and ask you, you know who you are. You know your history.
I know yes.
Who am I?
That's right.
I'm sitting here in 2024. I could tell you where my father came from, my mother came from, my grandmother came from. But as far as way back in history, who am I? Where's my roots? Which part of Africa did I even come from?
Right.
Who are my people? In 2024, I can't tell you. Unless, of course, to go to Ancestry.com.
Right. Well, and actually, when you do something like that, what you really discover is, guess what? We are all related.
Exactly. We do. We are. We are.
And so why would you harm your family when we're all family? And that's what we've been doing. And then the psychic damage from that ripples through the generations. And we have to find a way, instead of opposing it, you have to create something positive that takes its place.
Exactly.
And that's what you've been doing.
Yeah, the positive thing as far as that, like you said, and I think just like you, it's like at the end of the day, we have one bloodline. We're one species, the human species.
That's right.
Okay? So the same blood that runs through me runs through you, period. So all this division, I really feel like it kind of makes us all look very simple and ignorant.
Yeah, the ignorance really shines through.
Yeah, it really does, because if I could look at somebody and hate you because of what you look like.
Right, without even knowing
without
you.
Without even knowing you, just because you look a little different from me.
I can tell what you're like by how you look.
Yeah, like, that's ignorant, you know? And then they wonder why so much karma and negativity is going on in the world, because it breeds contempt.
Right.
And then you have this group of people against this group of people, instead of you guys just both laying it down and be like, but we all started from one.
That's right. So how do we come back together? You know, how do we bridge the perceived differences that aren't even real, but they have actual outcomes? I mean, they still affect us. It's so hard, because if someone doesn't want to see something, you can't force them to see something. They can only see what they can see.
Is it really hard?
Well, it seems to be hard. Huh?
It does hard. It does seem that way, but you know, it's simple.
I mean, don't we really want the same things? We want a nice environment that we can breathe clean air and drink clean water, and our children can grow up. We don't have to worry about them dying from some ridiculous disease or some violence in the area. We want to know that there are jobs available so people can have a living and pay their taxes and be part of the community. I mean, who doesn't want to be? Don't we all want that?
Exactly. And what does it come down to, as far as to answer your question? What could change this whole thing? If we truly loved each other.
That's right.
If we truly loved each other, if I loved you as a brother, you loved me as a sister, and we genuinely knew what that word is, love and respect, that would change a lot.
Right.
But, you know.
And you modeled it. And I suppose that's what we can each do. We each have the power to model the behavior that we want to see in others.
Right.
And then our children just naturally pick that up.
Correct.
By the same token, if we treat each other with disrespect,
they pick that up too.
They pick that up as well.
They're like sponges.
They are. And so they're kind of a reflection of you in a way, even though they live their own lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you're living your best life, though.
Well, I mean, I'm living a blessed life.
Right.
You know, I definitely see myself as somebody who has overcome obstacles, who has overcome challenges. And I still have challenges, you know, who doesn't? You know, as long as we're going to walk the face of the earth, we're going to have trials and tribulations. But I've overcome a lot in my life. And I know, like, sometimes when I tell people some of my past, they're kind of shocked, like, is that you? And I'm like, isn't God great? You know, but yes, you know, I come from a background, you know, I was raised with my grandmother. She was a lieutenant in the Salvation Army, so she was always outside on Sunday and feeding the people in the park and stuff like that. Just like you said, with kids, sponge it up.
Right.
So that always became part of me as far as being in that community. And then when I got older, you know, I went through certain situations. I struggled with domestic abuse and things like that, and eventually ended up in a homeless shelter.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
Let me see. I'm 48 now, believe it or not.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, right. I'm actually 47. I'll be 48 next month. So
yeah.
I'm just getting ready. Yeah, I'm just getting my mind ready to say it. It's a mental thing, right?
I'm already 63.
Right. So probably like, maybe like 6 years ago.
Wow, that recent.
Yeah, because I was living in Springfield, and I used to do a lot of what I do now. Okay, but it was on the other side. I was more in the world. So it's like I did like a lot of reggae parties, a lot of
Which
dance.
is a whole nother thing you'll be talking about, but that's another show.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show, right. But I did more club parties,
right.
And I used to like have like a lot of the dance hall queens and yeah. I used to do that. I used to have dance hall queens come out and they would perform, and I was like one big promoter and
so you were the impresario.
No, I really was. So, I really was. I definitely, but I put that energy into more of worldly things, and that wasn't the way I was raised. And what happens is, it's like you can only go so far, but it's like when you're chosen for a mission, and you can only go so far until you
get pulled to do that.
Exactly. And what happens is when you hit that brick wall, you lose everything.
Right.
You know, I just got a new what year? 2018 truck. I was living my best life. Okay. That's when I was living my best life. I had the best jewelry. I had the best this. I had the best that. Had the finest clothes. Nobody could talk to me. Was on the radio all the time, TV. I had everything. Okay, but that wasn't
what you were meant to do.
That wasn't what that was meant for me to do. No.
Right.
I was chosen for a mission, and all the energy I was putting into that was not what my life mission was about.
Right.
So I had to crash and burn,
Right.
literally. I did. I crashed and burned. I crashed the car. I crashed everything. Ended up in the hospital, lost a job, lost my apartment, lost everything.
And yet, in a way, that was all the best stuff that could happen to you because it set you on the true path.
Yeah, but now, I thought at that time it was just the end of my world. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. But it was a cleansing, it was a purging for me to put me in the right direction. And now I look back at that time in my life and I'm so thankful that happened.
Right.
Because now I'm like, now I'm living my true life mission.
Right.
Now I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and
you
all
know
that
how tough you are. You could do anything. You've gone through it.
I've gone through it.
Now, how did you get involved with Greenfield Savings Bank?
Funny story. You see, that's what happens when you're moving in the right direction. Things happen. Okay, so when I moved to Greenfield, because I just wanted to start over. I didn't, just leave the promotion alone. I don't know what Greenfield is. Nobody knows me. I'm just going to try to find my footing here, okay? So I did. That's when I started coming to GCTV, started talking about my shows, and, I started doing my little promotion and little marketing, just a little bit, just a little, because when it's in you, it's in you. Right. So you're always going to find a way.
Right.
And I was actually at the co-op where they used to have like the entrepreneurs come over there sometimes, and they would like pitch their business.
They had like each month.
Exactly, to pitch their business. And I was there one day, just regularly doing my thing, asking questions to one of the young groups that was there about their business, about how I could help them market their stuff, because that's who I am.
Right.
I love to promote, I love to market. So. There was this guy who was sitting over there watching me because me and him was asking the people certain questions. So it's so funny, it's so weird. So when it was over, he came up to me and he said, what's your name again? I said, my name's Empress. He said, well, I was very impressed with how you presented yourself, and you offered your services to help them build their business. I said, oh, well, thank you, And he was like, do you have a business card? I didn't have a business card yet, so because like I said, I was just doing my thing. I said, no, I don't have a business card. I was like, do you have a business card? He said, I never, ever carry business cards. So he's like, I'm just going to tell you that right now. But he wrote down the information, and he's like, I'm John Howland, CEO and President of Greenfield Savings Bank. I'm gonna call you tomorrow. And he sent me an email at 5:45 the next day, and the rest is history.
Oh my God. And I have to say, this particular episode is history because we've come to the end of our time.
Amazing!
Amazing. You timed it perfectly.
Where did the time go?
It flies by like that. But you'll be back to share more because you have this whole reggae thing that you're putting on.
August 11th.
August 11th. But in the meantime, we have Juneteenth coming up on June 19th.
Yes.
And
Moving Mountains Media is coming.
Moving Mountain Media. So Empress, well, I'll be working with you a lot.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
I'm so delighted.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Drew Hutchison. You've been tuned to Local Bias with my amazing guest, Empress. Thanks for joining us. Take care.